Hey, Marlo. Marlo, it's okay. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Hey. Here, Mr. Toes. Here, this is, everybody. This is Milo, and he's a little bit camera shy. But he's got a lot of toes, and he's a really swell cat. And he says hi. Hello, everybody. Anyway, welcome back. This week we have footage from the shop. Got some time lapse of a exam in transverse milling. We have work from the lathe. We started on the boring bars last week, and so I've got some boring footage for you. Also, I've got some 1, 2, 3 blocks in which I put apprentice marks. Some fun finds from the flea market, and also wacky pictures from there. Also, after the flea market, we went there today, stopped by Home Depot, got a replacement 6-inch scale because mine went missing somewhere. And happily that was cheap to replace. And so yes, let's get right to it. A few other things before we get going. I wanted to let you know I'm making a couple of additional kind of sub-channels. There's going to be Making Nonsense, which is basically just fun, silly stuff, not necessarily to do with machining or making, although it's usually got an element of humor to it. One of them is that I've already posted is me and my partner making lasagna in a time lapse, and another one is a video from 2014 in which I ingested some ghost peppers. These were dried ghost peppers. I'm a real fan of good hot food, and so we sent some of them off to my partner's brother, and to our surprise he ate it straight up and kind of melted. Check it out, it's kind of fun. We've got a follow-up to that coming, which is why I posted it, and hopefully you'll be seeing that real soon now. If it's here, then I'll link to it up there, and you can see what happens next. I myself don't know yet. Now, I've got a time lapse of my milling machine exam, the transverse milling module, which we just completed. And so I'm going to start that rolling now, and I will have some rolling commentary because it was done as a time lapse and we have no audio. So then, here we go. Let's roll. Okay, setup going on here. We have the head already trimmed up. That was aligning the vise. Now we are setting up the piece initially, doing the first facing. We actually, I faced off the short edges rather than the face first because the piece was only 5/8 of an inch thick, and so I figured we would get that as straight as possible. There was a bit of a mistake there. The piece was not perfectly square. It was 5 thou out of true, and so I had to trim it down a little more than I needed to. That dimension got 15 thou out of spec, which was sad. But anyway, milling off the faces there, and then we popped in an end mill to clean up the end. Check dimensions, turn the piece around, deburr it. Do that to length. That was nuts on. It was beautiful. Very nice. I was happy with that. Now, setting up the DRO. The origin was right in the middle of the piece. And now with the 1/2 inch end mill. Hey Milo. The 1/2 inch end mill. Taking a few quick passes, checking the depth, then continuing with the first 50 thou depth. Continuing to 100 thou. And on to 200 thousandths depth with that. Now we're doing the trimming off the end, dropping the end down to the same 200 thousandths depth. And at the same time there was a slot in the middle, so I proceeded to hog out the middle of that in order to clear out the operations later. Now this 1/2 inch end mill I think was a little bit tired, and it was complaining quite a bit as I was working. So I wound up fairly shortly replacing it with a 1 inch end mill. Here it is. And this, let me tell you, this cutter was sweet. It just plowed through. And there we go, cleaning up the faces, and I apologize for the quill arm there. I didn't realize it was taking up the view and it just got in the way, and quill arm. Anyhow, getting the central slot down there, cleaning up the edges again, getting the face of the lowered area in front cleaned up too. And now time to put in a couple of holes. And there you have it. Now I'm going off inspecting it. I also put in a couple of V grooves on the bosses after that, as we were required, 45-degree V grooves, but my camera was out of battery, and so I was unable to capture that. Anyway, there you go. That was my my final exam in transverse milling. There were 2 dimensions at a tolerance. There was like 5 thou tolerance in most dimensions. Like I said, the width was out by 15 thousandths, which was terrible. There was one other dimension that was out of spec by 1 or 2 thou. Everything else came in tolerance, and so I was very happy with that in general. Okay, right on. Now let's continue on to the boring bar. The discovery of the boring bar, which happened on Friday morning. All right. Okay, we're going to aim for a particular target. We've got 1.155 diameter. We're going to aim for 1.250. Okay, so here we go. 95 thousandths off the diameter. We're going to start with 80. Okay, well that was kind of noisy, and we're going to switch into high speed. Here I am measuring using the telescoping gauge. I found this thing a little tricky to use at first. I was not clamping it tightly enough, and so the measurements were skittering about and so on and so forth. And I also quickly got the hang of repeating measurements to make sure we have everything in line, and you know, all of that sort of stuff yourself. You've seen this stuff before, so we're not going to be filming too long on this segment. But then went in, plowed away a bit more. In general, very good precision on the boring. We tended to get pretty quickly. We were getting tolerances to within 1,000, and we have continued doing this in the ensuing week. And I can actually talk about that now. You may notice a different hat, different shirt. That's because it's a different week. Why has it been a week? Why is this video late? Well, it actually has to do with this. This hard drive clapped out on me last week, and I was in the middle of editing that previous video, and this is the operating system, and it went boom, and finally gave up the ghost. I bought a 1 terabyte replacement drive. It was like $150 with tax in. Pretty darn reasonable. Got that working again. Had to do OS install and all that sort of stuff, which has held things up. So I'm finishing the video now. My apologies for being later than usual. I try to get out 1 video a week, but here we are. Here we have it. Now, in the ensuing week, we actually have another thing that we worked on. This is a number 4 Morse taper piece. It's a fixture to go on a rotary table, which I made earlier. I think it's in one of my earlier videos. But this is a piece of 1020 steel, which we bored in a taper to match it. Now the instructions that I was given was that the small end of this, the bottom end of this, had to be 1/2 of an inch from this end of the taper. Okay, and I figured that it would make sense if it was like this, but this particular taper is installed this way in the rotary table, so I assumed that this end, pointing up towards the sky, is the top. Now, it turns out that with a taper, the large end is always called the bottom, and so the instructions were vague, and I actually sought clarification on it and just had the word bottom repeated towards me. Anyway, I put it, there's, probably can't see it, there's a little tiny dot there. When you place this in, oops, that's upside down, place it in the correct way, snap, the dot appears halfway through this. So it's really, really precise in diameter. There's no jiggle on it, and it locks on there really solidly. It's a really accurately produced piece. It's just that the instructions that I was given were inadequately explained. Now, this could have been a teaching moment. The instructor could have said, "Oh, you know, I understand how you came to be confused here. No, the bottom of a taper is always the large end of the taper," and that would have been fine. Instead, he chose to belittle me. He said, "This piece is garbage." That was his exact word, and that I'd have to start again next week, and it was crap, and it was uncalled for. I was really unhappy about that. And he also did not ever say, even after the fact, he was so busy belittling me that he did not ever say the big end of the taper is the bottom. Never once said that, even after the fact. And so, I mean, basically, as far as I'm concerned, this is not instruction, this is abuse. And I plan to file a complaint against that instructor. He is the only instructor I have an issue with at RTC. The other instructors there range from good to absolutely amazing. But this guy just, he doesn't really seem to have his heart in instruction, and he just, really not pleased with what went on there. If the instructions had been clear, this would have been an absolutely perfect piece. The finish is excellent. The accuracy is superb. It's just that the target point and the target point was accurately specified. The target direction was vague. Now, if any of you find yourself in a situation like this, I brought it up on the YouTube Machinist channel on Facebook, and the consensus there seems to be always get a drawing. If they don't give you a drawing, you don't make a part. And that's really solid advice, I think. Anyway, I will update all of you on how this situation comes out and let you know what happens. Now, it is a week later than when I started this video, so the judging period for Keith Fenner's What's in Your Box Toolbox giveaway has closed, and in the next few days we should hear the results of the giveaway, and that's very, very exciting. I am pumped. And oh my, here's my quality YouTube button has failed. There, let's get that back on there. Take it there. All right, that'll hold at least for the rest of this video. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to seeing the results from that. I'm feeling confident and really excited. And next week, I guess I'll probably be able to tell you what happens. So, fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed. Anyway, that's making sense. Have a good week, everyone.